materializing those dreams into being. So Hollywood is definitely the land of dreams and materializing that into dreams. And because of that, I think that things are shifting so drastically, too drastically, for them to keep up. And I think a lot of people are still stuck. You know, technology has advanced, and I feel kind of like I feel kind of torn between all these different things, because my other job, I work in technology. Hi everyone, and welcome back to No Light Tarot. My name is Holly. So grateful to have you all. Let's get into this reading. I'm really excited to be doing this. Recently there has been a lot of uproar in Hollywood, so I want to do a deep dive about the Hollywood strike, what that means for Hollywood, and so forth and so forth. So please like the video. If you often like my videos, I'm sure you like this one. And if you have watched a few of my videos and you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. There's about 65% of you who continually watch my videos unsubscribed, so please do that. It really helps me. And yeah, I always love to hear what you say, but please be respectful. You know, even though I speak about people in the public light, they are still people, and I do like to acknowledge that. Okie dokie, so let's get into the reading. I'm really excited for this. I just want to preface this by saying I have a lot of people I know in Hollywood, a lot. I have some entertainment people. Oh, my camera just fell down. I have some entertainment people in my family. I have people that I've dated, people that I know, have known for a long time. So I just want to give props. You know, I have people who work behind and in front of the camera that I know very, very well, and I'm very grateful for a lot of them. So I am being objective in this, and I hope some people don't see this, but I do just want to acknowledge, you know, I don't like to talk about my family. I always made that very clear on this channel because they deserve privacy, but I have a family member who has been acting. I don't want to get too much into it, but this person has always been was a very talented person. I just want to say that because, and I saw through her hard work, her dedication, and you know, she put in so much time and effort into it, and so I've seen that side too. So I do acknowledge it is a lot of hard work. I say this all the time. I'm no longer friends with this person, but my best friend in New York was an actor, still is, well known, and I saw him too put in lots of time, effort, energy. So I know people personally that are actors, you know, people, guys I've dated, that had relationships with, that have been on film, behind the camera, and so forth. And actually, I'm gonna get into somebody that, long story short, I've seen a lot of what the industry is headed towards and how it's affecting people. But I do want to see both sides, and I do want to make this very objective. I don't like to get emotionally involved. So if you're looking for an emotional video that only focuses on how, you know, the executives are in the wrong, I'm not gonna do that here. I do want to acknowledge I have known and do still know some very amazingly talented actors, producers, directors, and so forth. So they're all of these people that actually have a lot of close people that do this. This is not about you guys. I do acknowledge your hard work, and I just want to put that out there. This is as the industry as a whole, because I feel like sometimes I'm very critical of Hollywood, and then I have to remember that I have people very close to me who are in Hollywood, still are, and I sometimes can be very harsh about that. So I just want to put that out there. I acknowledge your hard work, dedication, and it's not an easy job, you know, it's really not. And being a former model, I totally get it. It's not easy at all. People think, oh, you're pretty, you're just on a camera. No, it's not. It's actually really hard work. Yeah, so just prefacing with that. So I am doing the reading a little different today. I only pulled a few cards. You know, I used to have a mentor, a tarot mentor, who used to tell me the less cards you pull, the simpler your reading will be, the more you'll rely on your psychic technique. So I'm relying mostly on my psychic technique for this reading, and I'm going to pull less cards and more energy. And I do always say this, like I said, I've known people, I've had not unknown, but people who have just, I always like to be delicate about using the word famous, but throughout my life, I've had people in my life in the entertainment industry, and I used to live in New York, I used to live in LA, and in LA, I really came very close to seeing a lot of behind the scenes, yes, but a lot of how it affects people's behavior. You know, you see so many people who want to be solely famous, you know, and I'm very grateful. I've actually been surrounded by a lot of actors and actresses who were not wanting to be famous but loved the art, you know. So I do want to acknowledge that there are a lot of people who act who don't want to just be famous. They actually believe it's an art. It is an art, you know. And so when I see people I met in LA, I say in New York, I met more people who, and I still know a lot, who act for an art. You know, they're not just wanting to make a quick buck. Like, they really believe in their art. They really believe in a lot of so many talented people. And the West Coast, when I lived there in LA, majority of people that I met just wanted to be famous at all costs. And it kind of like they cheapened the Hollywood brand, if you know what I mean. And I do think East Coast Hollywood is very different to West Coast Hollywood. There's a certain class in East Coast. I'm not saying everybody, because I met some wonderful, and I dated somebody who's so wonderful in the industry on the West Coast. But I met a lot of people, I think because of theatre, it kind of like gives you a rooting, you know, it gives you like grounding when you are in theatre as an actress or actor. And I met also fantastic producers and directors, and so down to earth, you know, on the East Coast. And most people I met in the industry are very down to earth. But on the West Coast, it's like celebrities, if you're on a show, all of a sudden you're this, you can make demands and blah, blah, blah. So it's just like very night and day. So when I lived in LA for 4 years, I lived there. Towards the end, I couldn't stand to be there anymore. It just felt like people were very overly sensitive, you know, just very hypocritical. So when I lived there, I noticed this energy of, I need to be famous, I need to be famous, I need to be famous. And I also started to feel as though there was going to be a cracking in Hollywood. And I noticed it a lot by a lot of people moving from LA, you know, moving out of LA to other places. I'm one of those people. And just how out of touch I feel like a lot of these A-listers have become. Very much on the West Coast. I think on the East Coast you don't really see that, you know. And also when I lived in London, you know, I lived in neighborhoods that had a lot of celebrities that lived there, but we never felt like, oh, they're above us, you know. Never felt that at all, you know. And I knew people that were famous, came into contact with them, especially on the East Coast. You know, I knew a lot of people who were friends with people that were famous, very famous, and never ever ever did they see themselves as above other people. I think it's a very West Coast thing. And the more that these out of touch A-listers and so forth, they say things on Twitter politically and so forth, and just being so demeaning to the general public, I think it's created this energy and this hierarchy that people no longer want to be a part of. And I think that's what's kind of stirred, it's kind of lit the fuel to the strike. So I did feel that energy. In fact, I energetically thought that Hollywood was going to go on full strike during COVID, because there was a lot of mandates, there was a lot of this, there was a lot of that. People behind the scenes, I would speak to actors and actresses that were famous, not famous, producers. I just spoke to lots of people who worked in Hollywood, and they were not very happy about the mandates. They were not very happy about so forth, but there was nothing they could do because they would stop working. So energetically, I knew that there would come a boiling point, and I didn't realize that this might be it, the streaming. And I want to tell you guys a story a little later about the streaming too. The person that I spoke to that actually was very much involved, who used to be in my life, very much involved in the beginning of the streaming. It's very interesting, actually, when I think about it. I'm like, wow, this is very fascinating. So let's get into it. I pulled, like I said, 4 cards. I didn't have any cards, but I pulled limited cards. And from the past of this, I'm picking up just energy of the strike. From the past, I got 7 of materials, and this deck I'm using is the Muse Tarot. And the Muse Tarot uses different terminology as the traditional deck. But if you see here, it uses materials. It's actually 7 of Pentacles. And 7 of Pentacles is associated with, 7 is often dream. The 7th house is dreaming. I forgot which. I believe it's Cancer that rules the 7th house. It's either Cancer or Leo that rules the 7th house. But 7th house is responsible for dreams, often associated with dreams, and making those dreams, materializing those dreams into being. So Hollywood is definitely the land of dreams and materializing that into dreams. And because of that, I think that things are shifting so drastically, too drastically, for them to keep up. And I think a lot of people are still stuck. Technology has advanced, and I feel kind of like I feel kind of torn between all these different things, because my other job, I work in technology, and as I see in my other job, technology is advancing insanely. I think the general public doesn't realize how much. It's really, really astronomical. And I think a lot of these producers know that. So with the present being the Tower, I have a very strong feeling a lot of these producers know more than they're letting on. So I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. I had somebody in my life, I don't want to say to what degree, because I don't really like to bring up this person a lot in my daily life, but I had a person in my life who was sort of involved in the beginning of Netflix. I don't want to say to what extent, because I feel like he deserves privacy. He's not in my life anymore, and I always said that unless I ask that person to reveal who they are, that I don't really feel like saying it. But he was in my life for quite some time, and he was telling me about the beginning of Netflix. He was associated in some form or manner of the beginning of Netflix, and this was in 2010. Around 2010, my memory is not that great about stuff like that, but I remember it was around 2010. Yeah, 2010. And he told me about the beginning of Netflix. He was like, it's going to be streaming. And this time there was Blockbuster. There was I thought to myself, this is so strange. I don't see it working out. And we would argue about it, because I'm like, I don't see Netflix being a thing. He didn't say the name yet, because I don't think that they had a name, but he was just telling me that yes, there's a beginning of this. I think he might have said Netflix at the beginning of our conversation with this, but he said that there's a streaming app that's coming out that he's involved with, and it's going to replace video stores. And I thought that's pretty cold-hearted, to replace video stores. And I just remember I told him the story about me having a crush on a video store guy, and I would look forward every Friday to go see him and exchange exchange and interaction with him while he asked me why I chose that specific video, VHS, and then it was DVDs. Actually, it was DVDs because I wasn't really into VHS like that. But he would ask me, why did you choose this DVD? And I was like, oh, because of this, that. And that exchange was it's so like a millennial exchange. Do you know what I mean? I had a huge crush on the video store guys. So I remember telling that story, and he was like, yeah, but that nostalgia is gone. The newer generation doesn't really care about things like that. And I was like, maybe he's onto something, but I just didn't see it. Fast forward 13 years later, and he was completely right. People have replaced the journey of going to a video store or going to any kind of store. I mean, I get my groceries delivered now. So as things progress, the producers know way more than they're letting on. They probably already have the technology. In fact, I strongly think they do have the technology to take bites of different actors and ensemble it into a quote-unquote masterpiece. And I'm seeing both sides, and I really believe that in a partial way, I think the unions helped them in the beginning, but are hurting them now. I remember, actually, I'm just remembering the story about Netflix, because I was in New York, and New York was born, Netflix was born in New York. A lot of startups are born in New York, so I've met a lot of startup people who are like, oh yeah, I have this idea, and we're gonna start up. I actually know somebody, I haven't spoken to him in a while, but he starts up. I should actually reach out to him now that I'm thinking about that. But he has a startup fund for he has a startup fund for technology companies that are innovative, new, and often based in New York. So I've seen a lot of these companies start up. But I remember I actually know somebody who was on Orange is the New Black. And same thing, I don't want to say who she is because she hasn't come out publicly and said this, but when her castmate came out and said that she made almost no money working on Orange is the New Black, and she, I believe, wasn't a part of SAG. That's why they were able to get them to do this for so little. And I was telling a friend the story the other day, and I said to him, haven't you noticed that since Orange is the New Black came out, none of them have really done anything? He was like, yeah, that's true. And I was like, I think it's because a lot of these actors or actresses that aren't SAG take on these jobs while, for some reason, while there's like turmoil with SAG-AFTRA or something like that, then they get blacklisted by different people to not work again. So that's just my belief, my intuition, picking that up. So with the future being 7 of Cups, so I am going to clarify this because I feel like they might get what they want from the start, but, and I don't like to be negative, but I think a lot of it is too late. And I think, and I want to get into, because a lot of people are like, Bob Iger from Disney, and they're like blaming him and so forth. And, I don't think there's only one person to blame. I also feel like, I've always said this, that a lot of these actors, and I'm not talking about the ones that focus on talent, I'm talking about the ones that love to be like political and so forth. Stay out of politics. Stay out of it. And stay out of any commentary that has nothing to do with what you're promoting, I think Hollywood did best when actors would just stay out of having a voice, trying to be a political savior. Because the majority of the people that watch you will not align with your beliefs, and they don't like to feel belittled because they don't, So, let's see. I see them getting what they want for the moment. I see them extending, like saying, oh yeah, there's like a season or so forth. Excuse me. I see them getting what they want for the moment. So a season, they say, used to be 20 episodes. Now it's 6. I see them getting 12. They're going to come to a consensus of 12. 12 episodes per season, which will cost more. They'll get like more out of it, you know. I was watching this YouTube channel, and this guy said that they're basically doing part-time work, a lot of these people. And I agree with that. You know, I see both sides very deeply, because as somebody that's in tech, you know, I do have a company, not a tech company yet, I'm working on that. But I see both sides. I see the profit. You know, you need to make a profit from revenue. But I also see that acting is very hard work. It's not just promotions. I think people think it's like, oh, you're just in promotions or whatever. You have to really be that character. You have to take it on. And, you know, I would be doing all the actors and actresses a complete disservice if I just said, yeah, you know, these producers are right, because I've seen it. I've seen it can take an emotional toll on you, you know, if you play somebody dark. So it's not just easy work, you know, it's not just fun work. It really requires devotion. So with the Lovers, interesting that with the Lovers, 9 of Swords and 4 of Swords. Okay, so I see very strong. Oh my gosh, I just got this very strongly. They're going to play. They're going to get what they need for now, but they're going to work on later. The producers. And, you know, I know some great producers too, so I don't want to just say that they're all in this together. But big corporate producers are very different to independent studio producers, you know. And I think a lot of the independent studios, they don't want to get involved in all of this, because they hurt usually the most when things like this happen. And I think people like the Bob Igers are so focused. I don't get a good vibe from him. I get a very manipulative, cold demeanor, just weird energy. The Queen of Swords and Queen of Cups, I think that ultimately they're going to have to give in to each other's demands. So for now, the producers are going to give in to the actors and the writers' demands, and then later the actors and writers are going to have to give in to the producers' demands. So they're going to give them what they want right now, and then later, I'd say in the next 2-3 years, we're really going to see the rollout of technology, and they're going to find a way to block out contractually any of this, because they have 2 different ways of which they're approaching this, or the direction they want to go down. And unfortunately the new way of doing things is going to win. So I did want to touch on how streaming has affected this, because, you know, I have mentioned I knew somebody who was in the beginning process of Netflix, and I know actually even the crew of Orange is the New Black. I used to work really close to Orange is the New Black filming, and the crew used to come to a restaurant I worked at, and they would tell us stories just about what they had to go through and stuff. But they were very sweet, very, very humble, down to earth, very sweet people. And they would just tell us stories, you know. But then I remember one of the ladies was like, yeah, you know, but we get compensated for our work. Because she was telling me stories, and I was like, oh my gosh, you go through that in a day? She's like, yeah, but I get compensated, you know. But now if you don't get compensated, what's the point of doing the work? So let's see, for future reference, what it's going to look like. Because I really feel like Hollywood, this is energetically what I pick up on. Hollywood is going to end in terms of being physically in LA. or East Coast, and it's going to be more about the content creator. So people are going to become thirsty for genuine content. That's why people are like, AI is going to replace us. There's no way AI can replace if you're genuine, if you really are your own if you're your own brand, you own your brand and you're independent. So I feel like there's going to be a push more towards 3 of fire. I'm using the guitar now. 3 of fire, 6 of earth, pushing towards, it's going to completely change, but it's going to be pushed towards the individual content creator making for themselves, and that's going to draw people to YouTube. And YouTube is going to be the foundation of the social media, the foundation, and then these streaming sites, networks, or apps are going to pick from different people and make different people stars. So the old Hollywood contracts, that's done, and it's going to be done in the next 3 to 5 years. So I see very strongly that people are going to have a thirst for genuine content. It's not going to be in the form of AI, because people love people. You can't force a robot down a person's throat. But when the producers go the AI route, the average content creator is going to make their own, and that's when things are going to completely shift. So that's what I have for you guys. I love to say, please, or you all, I don't like to call everybody guys, but that's what I have for you all. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Take care.